Hey, everybody. And today is Monday and it is 7 o'clock. And I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Opinion. And you know what they say about opinions. I'm not going to say it, but you know what they say. They're just like, assholes. And everybody got one. So, we all have our opinions about different things. My name is Katie Lowe, and this is Rhythm Flow Radio live stream right here on Meta Facebook Live, YouTube, and Spreaker. And I'm gonna call in Brother Ray. I gotta go. I gotta find him. I gotta find him. He's somewhere in the back, so he can lead us in prayer, so we can get this show started. And today we're gonna talk about, you know, how do you know who to vote for? When you go to vote, how do you know who to vote for? When you vote, do you vote for people because you've read something that do you study them? Are you influenced by someone? How do you know who to vote for? That's what we're going to talk about. And if you'd like to be a part of the live stream, I can send you a link and you can come right on in here and voice your opinion because we all have an opinion, and that's what they are. These are, they're not scientific facts. It's just how we feel about doing things. So, Brother Ray, I need you to come on in here and do this prayer so we can get the show started. Are you there, Brother Ray? Let's see if I can find him. Okay, there he is. Okay. Brother Ray, are you? Oh, we can't hear you. I think we're having a problem. Brother Ray, we can't hear you. You want to log out and log back in right quick? Brother Raymond, you want to log out and log back in right quick? Okay. We're going to let him log out and log back in right quick and see if we can get things straight. But today here in Chicago, our weather was like about 51, maybe 55 degrees. And this was the last day of early voting. And I tell you, if you were going to vote, today would have been the perfect day. I'm a senior citizen. I voted. I went out to do my early voting yesterday on Sunday, and the weather was rather nice. So today would have been a perfect day for you to go out and do your early voting and get somebody and take somebody with you. The morning it started off ugly here in Chicago, and when I woke up, it was raining. It was perfect sleeping weather. If you're a senior, you could have just turned back over in the bed and went back to sleep. But I looked out the window a little bit later. The sun was shining. It was nice. All you needed was a jacket to go outside. It wasn't cold. And you could have got about 3 or 4 seniors to go with you. And you could have took them to early vote. And if you all had a few dollars in your pocket, you could have went out and got your bite to eat and made a day of it because the weather was very, very nice. Okay, we're gonna hold on and hopefully Brother Ray can log back in and we can talk about, how we determine who we're going to vote. But let me tell you a secret. You're not going to believe it. Okay, here he is. He's back. Oh, Brother Ray, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, let's get this prayer started so we can get this show started because it's just so much to talk about.
All right. Heavenly
Why don't
Father,
you introduce yourself before you start praying?
hello, my name is Raymond Richard. I am CEO and founder of Brothers Stand Together, 501c3 nonprofit organization, also the founder of BST LLC Construction. Thank you very much, Caleb, for having me on your show opinions. And with that, let's go into prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you thanking you for allowing us to live to see another day. We ask that you continue to hold us, guide us, and mold us. Lord, we ask you keep your loving arms around us. Show us the light guide us to the light out of the darkness. We pray all these things in your mighty, magnificent Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Take me out. Take me to the back right quick. Let me set up.
Uh,
Take me to the back, so let me set up.
okay, let you set up. Okay. Okay, Professor Kincaide is just logged in. Okay, I'm gonna add him to the screen.
I can't find himself.
Okay, can you hear us, Professor?
Pardon me?
I just said, can you hear us?
Just barely. You may need to turn the volume
Okay, do
up.
you hear some noise in the background?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn the TV down.
Okay, please do. That might help you hear us a little better.
If you turn your volume up, it might help me as well.
Well, the volume is up as loud as it can go. Are you ready now, Raymond?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Let's let him get his stuff together, and then we'll get
Go ahead.
started.
Let's get started. Let's get it on.
Okay.
Like Marvin Gaye said, let's get it on.
So we're going to discuss today, since we are here in Chicago, we are in an election, and tomorrow is the final day of the election, and we are electing what the mayor and the alderman, and then there's a new thing on the ballot. We are electing. Hold on. They are called. It's what is it? The police community. Hold on. I want to get it right.
They call it what?
Let me put it up. We are electing a district council for the police department. Okay, and they will elect 66 people to serve on the police district council across the city of Chicago. Okay, this is something new, but it may be something new, but it started. Uh, you're not going to believe this. This started with the Black Panther Party. It started with Fred Hampton Jr. Okay,
Senior.
huh?
Senior.
What? I can't hear you.
I said senior.
Okay, well, maybe I read it wrong. Maybe I read it wrong. I read it wrong there
Okay.
because I read the article. I just read it wrong. Okay,
Okay.
but it told me that it started with something that he had been trying to get, and they kind of moved forward on it. And it said that it kind of started with some of the killings in Chicago of young black men who were unarmed,
Yeah.
and it started moving forward even more after the death of unarmed black men across America.
Yeah.
Here recently with the killing of George Floyd, Mike Brown, and
I
quite
stand
a
to be.
few. Okay, so that's why that council was set up. So we wanna talk about how do you decide who you're going to cast your vote. Okay. So we're electing the alderman here in Chicago. We're re-electing the alderman, and also we are either going to re-elect the mayor or get a new mayor. So, how in terms, what criteria do you use when you are going to cast your vote?
Start off.
Basically, they don't really have a criteria. Um, I think people are in a mass state of confusion most of the time because the candidates haven't really been laying their platforms out there and describing their backgrounds or their experience in government and the things that people really need to know in order to make logical decisions about who to vote for.
Well, I do know that when I'm making a vote or casting my vote, I look at the work that one has done over the years, and I compare that to previous work that has been done in the city of Chicago when I was there,
Mhm.
and that's how I will determine my vote of who gets my vote because we already know that it is a split vote coming out anyway. But um, one thing I can say is I like the interview. I don't know if you guys seen it. It was last week. Uh, Mayor Lightfoot said, "Well, take my record and compare it to the previous Alden mayors of the city of Chicago.
Mhm.
Uh, you will see that I've done more. I've created more jobs, and so on and so forth. So, with that being said, but that's how I judge. I go by the work that one has done previously, and I compare it to the one that one is doing in the present. So that's how I dictate.
Yeah, but that's basically what I meant. I wasn't trying to be skeptical about the whole thing, but that's the only thing we can go on. We can go on whether we know they have had previous experience in government on the basis of what the previous mayors have had to be faced with in terms of the insurmountable number of problems in the city. And of course, when it comes down to that, we just all we are aware of is we can look at their record in public service and so on and so forth. In this particular mayoral group, the people who are least likely to be the front runners will probably wind up being the best people for mayor if they were able to be elected because they don't have a whole lot of internal conflicts and ties in the governmental agencies that'll hold them back, and people with predispositions in government that will hold them back, and people who are trying to compete with them, or agendas that they have already developed, and attitudes that they already have developed against the mayor that's in office already that will hold them back. So those are the people who should be elected, but probably won't wind up being front runners nor in the runoff, in my opinion.
Okay. Oh well, and I like that. I thank you for that. But in my opinion, I feel like the ones who have the experience um, to run the city, um, who have the awareness to run a city. I mean, you have I think there's what 8 candidates, if I'm correct. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Is it 8 candidates? 8 candidates
Mhm.
running for mayor. We have Chewy, we have Lori. So we have
Apologize.
Chewy and Lori talking about season. Um, Roderick Sawyer. I mean, you can argue that, but then you have the newcomers. You have young, bright uh, activist, entrepreneur Jamal Green. Then you have the Willie Wilson, and then you got young Brandon Johnson, and it's one more out there. I don't eludes me, but Now you have them, and these are the ones you're talking about, Professor. And out of them, it could rise a new mayor uh, if they have the staff. See if they had a staff, and like you said, political ties. I think
Yes.
that would propel them to achieving such a goal. But since it's not, I'm just gonna look at. Uh, it's gonna be tight with Chewy and Lori. I'm looking at the finish line. It's just my opinion.
Well, my having spent the number of years in politics that I have, I know that politics is a very deceptive game, and people play them. Sometimes they play cutthroat politics, and, and so when it
And
comes down
Chicago
to,
does, and Chicago does.
and
Yeah.
so when it comes down to what our people in Chicago need to be looking at is the fact that Lori Lightfoot, when she came into office, gave us a two-way advance. She came in as a black female and as a black person in a city that has predominantly, if you look at Chicago, the split vote has wound up being in the favor of the people who could get out and garner the most people. Dailies would always get out and do things right before the election to get black people to vote for the dailies because they have to have the black vote to win. And so, getting back to the candidates we have now, you have a deceptive game going on with the police union that's trying to get behind who they feel like will come in and give them ultimate power to militarize the police department and so on. Even the front running candidate, which is the most right wing person in the race, is trying to denounce the fact that they came out and endorsed him. And so when it comes down to politics, they'll play that game in the primaries, and then when it comes down to the vying candidates against each other, that's when you see the people start lining up and so on. I feel sorry for Willie Wilson because I feel like he has a good heart and the ability to lead, obviously, because he's a good businessman. But he doesn't come across to the public as being credible just because they judge him on the basis of the way he speaks. And so there are so many things in the younger people, Raymond, that are running that I was making mention to, who are probably most capable and have the best ideas about how to carry Chicago forward. They're not going to be in the front running. And so when you look at the polling and all of the things that are going on, it's a cutthroat political game. And somewhere along the line, I pray that God will have mercy on us because there are so many things going on now that need primary attention being paid to them. That talking about taking the handcuffs off of the police department is not going to get it. Talking about giving them more leeway in terms of how they can burst into people's homes and shoot them or do whatever, that's not going to get it. Talking about they're going to provide protection for the people in the city. It is playing on the fears of the individuals who want to live and stay in Chicago and trying to maintain a standard of living that deserves to be safe. Because certainly with the taxes that we pay, we deserve to be protected and we deserve to know that we're going to be provided for by the people who represent us.
Oh, no doubt. And to add to that, Katie Lowe, I stand corrected. It was Fred Hampton Jr. who created that.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
um, I was looking at Jamal Green, and Jamal Green, I can remember when he had first started his youth campaign, and he shut down Cottage Grove. Yeah, I think he had over 3,500 young people marching and protesting and things of that nature. And Jamal became the poster child of the city of Chicago for a long time. And I remember back when Daley was he was funded by Daley, and then when Daley left, Al Rom even funded him. And then I don't know what happened along the way, but something, the signals got crisp. But like you say, it's cut through in politics. So after they use the young brother to what they can use him for, I feel like, and it's just my opinion, they took the sheep from up under him, right? Meaning
Yeah.
took the funds from him, and they went. I don't know if he's able to fund his program like it was, but here again, and then that's when everything started to turn for Jamal Green, and then Jamal, as he like to call himself, um, started to advocate for the rights and injustices and things of that nature, and he started to move up the ladder. And so I commend him. As you said about Willie, Willie is a kind person, and no, he doesn't speak fluently like everybody wants to do, but it shouldn't be a reference or a preference of if you got to speak correctly or what's the political terms that people want to hear. We are here. We are at a time where crime rules everything around us in the city of Chicago, from carjacking to burglaries to shootings, snatching phones and all the stuff that goes on the trains. And so we're in a state of awareness right now, whether the people want to know it or not. So it shouldn't be about the popular vote. It should be about the vote who can get the job done, who they feel that can carry the city forth. And, unfortunately for the Jamal Greens and the Willie Wilsons and even the Roger Sawyers, even the Brandon Johnson, he had a spark there too. I liked it. I like what his message was about. But they're gonna look at more seasoning. So Chewy is more seasoned, um, and so Chewy will be the front runner against Lori, and so I look that to be the tailspin if that's the case. That come down to that. But I'll say this with the passing of the casino and the new valleys right there on Halsted, where the Tribune used to be. I think that might have had just sealed Lori's second term. I'm not, we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just believing, it's just my opinion, that helped seal her second term. And when you look at her record versus the other record, she has a pretty good record. So, her murders wasn't as high as Rom's. It wasn't as high as Daly's, but they were high. So I mean, crime is crime, So there are some things that they can work on. But I look at it overall as these candidates. What I'm hoping is that whether Lori repeats, get a second term, I'm hoping she can find it in her heart to bring along a few of these candidates in order to help to propel the city further um, in the future.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that as well. But the likelihood of them coming together, because see, Chicago has never been a strong mayor government since the way back in the old days. You had to have a coalition of people working together. But it's a weak mayor, actually form of government from the onset, and actually it's a council or alderman type of government as far as the district is concerned. And unless you can get out and garner agreement and support among those individuals, they all have their little areas of control in the government that they can be satisfied with. And when they come to the table, they know what they bring in terms of taxation and money, and their requests follow suit. And so if you can satisfy what they want to talk about doing, when Chewy accuses Laurie of being a failed mayor, I want to ask him what criteria is he basing that on? Because a mayor can only do so much, and so how
Exactly.
can he say that? How can he say that about anybody when it comes down to government? government in this because you have to have a coalition of individuals, and the powers that be even have power over those people who are elected. Because if they say no, and we're going to move our big businesses somewhere, then the government starts becoming shaky because you're losing a tax base of people or workers and employees and everything else when people move, when large companies move. Look at what's happening with the Chicago Bears right now. Everything's up in the air,
Let the
wondering if they're going to
Chicago
move.
Bears move. Let them go. They have done nothing but hibernated in this city. They have not been winners. Let them go where they want to go, and maybe they will be winners somewhere else. They have did nothing but hibernated. Okay, cost the city lots and lots of money. So let them go hibernate somewhere else.
Yeah,
Okay,
but they brought
it
money
costs
into
the
the city too,
taxpayers
King.
lots of money. We can take our money and do something else with it.
Well,
So let them go.
I'm
No, I
optimistic.
don't agree with that. I know that
I
they
agree with it.
no, I mean they in fact may have in fact well we all got opinions, so they
That's
may have
right.
in
We
fact
all have opinions. My
okay they
opinion
may have
is let
well
them
I'm
go.
talking economically they have drawn more people that because that's what Lori was talking about. They were talking about how we brought tourists in. The Bears have brought more tourists in who have dealt
Yeah, I'm
with
quite sure
business and
Chicago can get another football team.
Well, first of all, we're not going anywhere. They're just moving to Arlington Heights, build a new stadium, and they'll still be the Chicago Bears as if
no.
nothing
See,
has
To
changed.
be the
my point,
Arlington Heights
Raymond,
Bears,
was
No,
Chicago
it's going
can
to be
get
the
another
no. My
Chicago
football
point.
team.
Bears.
Let them
And so,
go.
No, Katie said
that
that's the
being
thing
said,
about the Bears.
with
But
that
let
being,
me
What I
say this.
used to
Let
compare.
me get let's not change the subject because we talk
go ahead.
about politics right now. Let me tell you, Chicago politics is very corrupt. Okay? It's very corrupt. And it always has been. Now I learned something yesterday that I was just so outdone. Some of the literature that they sent out, they mail out to your house. And the literature is totally a lie. There is no truth in it whatsoever. And I got a hold to a piece, and I was just totally shocked. I don't even live in the ward where this literature was distributed. I live in the ward next to it. And somebody showed it to me. What this alderman sent out about the guy that's running against him. And then I read up on this alderman and I was shocked. But I find out this goes on not on the aldermanic level, this goes on even in the mayor's campaign.
Oh, sure.
They send out a lot of lies. So some of the stuff that people get in the mail is very confusing. And I can see why people don't know who to vote for. They're
I,
Well, I think I said that in the beginning of maybe I wasn't clear that people were in a mass state of confusion because the candidates were not giving delineatedly clear platforms that they stand on that relate to the people that give them the information they need to decide who's the most qualified to vote for.
so we got someone said all politicians are corrupt, especially Chicago, Illinois, especially Chicago,
No, I
Illinois.
mean
Chicago
there's a reason
politicians
why.
are totally corrupt.
Well, there's a reason. The whole system is corrupt from
Yeah,
Washington all the way through. When you
Yeah,
finish
you're
about that,
absolutely right about that.
yes,
and so
yes, yes.
when it comes down to it, so we can't. And that's another thing. We can't single Chicago as being crooked out because if you move from Chicago and go to Mississippi or Florida, anywhere, they have crooked stuff going on there. There are votes being sold, Raymond and Katie, right now that have been sold in this election by people out who are out campaigning for candidates that they endorse under the cover, and they already got the checks and the money in their possession before the election tomorrow. They've gone around and taken up absentee ballots and voted for old people and did everything else to assure these candidates that they're going to get votes voted for. And so that's not right. But we're not here to talk about what's right.
We're not here to talk about what
He froze.
people.
What's wrong.
He going in and
So
out. He
Okay,
going in and out.
Harriet say it's not about the Bears record. It's about the jobs that will be lost
We're
if
talking
the
about,
team.
yeah,
It's
that's
not.
the only reason I used the Bears for an example. I wasn't trying to make it a primary
I'm trying to
topic.
read this statement that's on the screen right now.
Oh, but
Can you
that
see it?
yeah, I see Harriet Fry. I see
Okay,
it.
go you go on and read it then. Go ahead.
It's not about the Bears record. It's about the jobs that will be lost if the team leaves the city.
Okay.
Well, that's twofold because even though they'll leave the city, it doesn't necessarily mean that the workers will lose their job if they did what they need to do in the stadium, in the old stadium, for the new stadium, because it'll be some time before that even happens. So in between that time, it'll be um, what they'll say is the best come with. Like you're gonna take so many and then you're gonna leave so many. Just like with the mayor. The mayor, if a new mayor is elected, they'll come in with their staff and they'll relieve some of Lori's staff, or they might keep some of Lori's staff. So that's what happened with the Bears. But we love the Bears. But getting back to the political arena, uh, I find it very interesting that the divide and conquer game is always going to be uh, triumphant in the end of any election, whether it be mayor, president, alderman, whoever, because in the city of Chicago, we have ways and means of how to single-handedly disband someone versus letting your record speak for itself. So now, okay, they say Lori ain't this, Lori ain't that. Okay, well, look what Lori inherited. See, ain't
Yes,
nobody talking about what she inherited when she got there. So
Absolutely
they're not
not.
talking about that. So they're not talking about how her single hand, her one term, wasn't gonna turn everything around. It's the same thing they were saying with Obama. So nothing has changed under the sun. But the thing that's more damaging and more hurtful to anything that it is us who always condemn us. And
yes.
so with that being said, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 or 6 black candidates out of the 8. So that means all of these votes will be split up.
Oh,
And so whoever, and see, this side systemized now, we have to pay attention to that too, because they put them in the race in order to
absolutely.
divide these, get these votes out the way so that the primary person, which I'm just going to call it as it is, Chuy Garcia, he can walk in and he can absolutely win because we're not going to get the Hispanic votes at all.
I think they want Paul Vallis in there. That Republican who's running on that Democratic ticket that's
But
being that's being funded and backed by the FOP.
guess
Absolutely.
what? That's why he won't get in. That's exactly why he won't
Well,
get
I
in.
hope not.
He
I,
thought that would be the way, and that's why they backed him because he speaks their language. But
he
that's not
definitely speaks their language.
going
And
to
I
happen. Because,
noticed that nobody has really challenged him. He has an address in the city, but he definitely lives in the suburbs with
but
his
that's what
wife.
they do. That's what they do.
I'm not so worried about him because he's cutting dry clear. You can look at him and tell where he's at. But I'm worried about the people who are walking around in disguise, who are still lining up that way and have funding in the background from the FOP. And we don't even know it. And their skin color is the same as ours.
And,
And
and, and,
so
and,
when it comes down to that, I mean, let's just get real about the politics thing. It's a
let's go.
cutthroat game, and
Of
and
course.
whoever can get the most out of it, money wise, that's
Hmm.
what happens with any of the elections, gubernatorial, presidential, and everything else. That's why Trump got pissed off. He thought he had enough money out there to one get the poor white folks who didn't give a damn about out enraged about black people, but then admiring himself for being a billionaire. But then he also had some foolish black people who felt like it would be better to vote for him, and he was counting on his numbers being big in that area, and he got gypped. And so right now he can't believe that happened to him. And so and when it comes down, I'm not worried about the white candidate. I'm worried about whether our people are going to come together and do what they need to do anyway. Chicago has traditionally had the voting bloc in the Midwest for black people because the strength came from up here. And if you divide them and keep it and divide them long enough, and some of them decide they pissed off enough because their candidate didn't win, that they won't come back to the poll, then the black candidate is going to lose.
Okay, and I understand that, but let's look at this. Let's look at the demographics I just did the show. You remember, Katie Lowe, I just did my show last week, and we did a show the week before about the urban communities becoming extinct. And what I was meaning by that was the demographics in the urban communities is now predominantly white or other than, right? So now when you look at that, you take that into consideration, and then they go to the poll. Now they're saying we have the fighting power. We have the power now because we have taken this urban, and they strategically plan to pick certain urban communities to change the demographics for such an occasions as this. Now, that's the reason why I said anybody will have a stronger a hand to hide in this, and you mark my words, Professor and Katie, it will be Chuy Garcia.
Absolutely, but Chuy Garcia has already established a political machine or mechanism that he feels like is going to bowl over everybody else. The sleeper in the race is Lori Lightfoot because she has a political base as well. But we don't know how strong that base is, but it's going to be based on how many of us decide we want to step up and support her, hoping that she winds up being the second runner. And so, may I finish?
Look at the facts, Professor. Let's just look at the facts, if you will. Her record is, and if you can pull it up, Kelly Lowe, if you have time. Her record is better. I mean, if they're going to keep it real, let's keep it real. Her record is better. Okay.
Her record is solid. She has
but see, they're not on the basis of her record, Raymond. They're voting.
No, I know, but that's what it said, Professor.
If they were voting on the basis of her record, she wouldn't have that many black people who are in government already running. Some of them people who are running against her that are on the ticket right now are on there because they couldn't get her to do what they wanted her to do. So they said
I'm in agreement with that, but what I'm saying is they're saying Lori's not doing this, Lori's not doing that, auntie this, and nephew, and all this other crap is showing a great deal of disrespect to the black woman. Now, whatever her gender is, and whatever she chooses to go by, she's a black queen, and we've negated that fiercely because we profusely went on Instagram and all these social medias, and we talk about it, and while they thinking it's funny, what the funny is, they're laughing at us. Look at those, you know what's putting their own people down. We wouldn't do such a thing of that nature. And not only that, when she was the head of the police commission, she challenged them then. And how I know, because I was an activist and I was there every Thursday and I watched her. It was little, like you said, it was little she can do. Her hands was tied. And then she inherited this great debt that Daley and Rom left her to dig herself out of, right? Dig the city of Chicago out of.
No, they hung her out to dry. They hung Lori Lightfoot out to dry because they were pissed off with Tony Prickwinker about the damn taxes he tried to put forth. And so they wanted to show her, well, you've been in government and she had the connections to win. And she had the qualifications to win. But she proposed a sugar tax on Chicago. Right. And everybody got pissed off about the sugar tax and went to Indiana to buy the drinks and shit.
Right, I remember. And that's the thing, you know what I'm saying? So, but then you see how they collided two powerful sisters against each other.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
They thought that it was going to be Preckwinkle's time, you know, but Preckwinkle smartened up and said, well, hell, I got a better chance staying here than becoming the mayor. So that's how this is just my opinion, you know, how
Let me
that
tell you what.
and then let me say this, Professor. Now you look at it. Look at how all this unfolded. You got Tony Preckwinkle, right? You got Lori Lightfoot, right?
Yeah.
You got Kim Fox, right?
Yeah.
And you got Sister Strata. What's her name? Strata, the lieutenant governor?
Yeah, I know exactly.
and you got Melissa Conyers Irvin, which is
And you
Jason Irvin's wife of the 28th Ward.
And see, this is too much power for the Black queens. See, this is what we got to wake up and realize what's going on, because that's not about that. It's about breaking that up. So now they saying, and through the grapevine, they saying Kim ain't gonna run no more. We can mark that vote out. Well, we can't really mess with Preckwinkle right now. We'll play along till we can find something to trip her up with. Now, if we can get Lori out of there, that'll be a major move, right? Lieutenant Governor ain't going nowhere. So you have a wealth.
She just got reelected, right?
You just got a wealth of
the Lieutenant Governor just got reelected.
Right. Yeah, she just got reelected.
That's what I'm saying.
So she's absolutely correct about that.
So this is where they're going. This is why they're hitting that now. Now we gotta get to Lori, and we gotta get to Lori and the state's attorney, Kim Fox. We gotta hit Lori and Kim Fox, and we gotta put a dent in it. And if we can do that, now we can put a dent in the Black movement. Now we can stalemate, just like you said earlier, Professor, how they stalemated us in Washington when Obama was in office. So now hands will be tied, not much can be done, and the same old drum will beat. And that's the Chicago way. And whether we like it or not, that's what they're doing. So I'm not mad at Lori Lightfoot. You know, I was never mad at her because she inherited a debt. She wasn't gonna never be able to get out of there. And Ron knew he couldn't get out of there. Because see, let me share this with you guys. When we had the movement with Laquan McDonald, we had our foot on Ron's neck. And what he did was he told them, get their foot off my neck. How do you get these so-and-so foot off my neck? And they said, divide and conquer. They start giving people money that they had never seen. You give an activist $20,000, $35,000, he ain't never seen that type, with the conditions of you go look that way. I'm gonna give you 50,000, you look that way. I'm gonna give you so-and-so thousand, you look that way. And that's what happened in that movement with the Laquan McDonald thing. And that's how Ron was able to skate out of the city of Chicago, unaged, unearthed, and he didn't even care about it. He said, I don't even want to run. That's how cold it was.
And don't talk about all the rest of the underhand deals that he made.
So this is what I'm talking about when we talk about this here, this whole movement thing and the corruption that it is. But it's more corruption against us. We do the more corruption than anybody because we sell out. We don't stand strong.
And what we do is we take issues that have nothing to do with the underlying that's holding the whole corrupt system up. We skip over them and argue about nonsensical crap. And so, and I say it like that. I'm sorry, I have a better vernacular than that. I could put it in another language if you want to, or speak it in 7 different languages that I know. But it's all going to wind up being bullshit. That's what it is.
All right, and that's not necessary.
But anyway, so when it comes down to it, when we stop dealing with that and start dealing with what's actual, I feel like I went to school for nothing. I feel like all the years I spent in the master's degrees and all of these other degrees I have in politics are a waste of time when it comes down to talking to our people right now. because we get out here and get to arguing about things that ain't even got nothing to do with what's crippling us in the first place. So I'm gonna go on record one thing tonight about Lori Lightfoot. I met with Lori Lightfoot. I know her as an individual person, sat across the table in meetings with her, talked to her, find her to be very credible as an individual. She's a good shot at knowing what the right thing would be if people would give her the leeway to operate with. But that's not going to happen in Chicago.
Mm.
And so, but I don't see where people ought to be upset with her about anything, because I do feel like she put forth an effort to try to make things as right as she could make them. Now, unless we come together as a people, and all these other candidates they got running, whatever vendettas, whether people have been killed in their families, or if we can bring Willie Williams to the table and other candidates and other people out there as well, as a consortium, as a group of people who can come together and come into agreement in terms of what's going to take Chicago forward. Turning it over to somebody else who has no concern for us at all is going to be a travesty.
And this is what I'm talking about, the overlay for the underplay. And this is what they're doing. And we're not paying attention to that because we're so worried about what we're going to wear the next day or what we're going to go about. I don't care how it go. It ain't going to affect me. It is affecting us. Ain't nobody talking about our communities, how our communities, the urban community is suffering greatly. I mean, our seniors can't even come out and sit on their porches no more. The kids can't play no more. This is a problem that needs to be seriously addressed. Ain't nobody addressing that. And so they're going around trying to stop passing me out food. I accept the food, but let's get through these issues, okay? Let's change some of this stuff one block at a time. You know what I'm saying? I came to Willie Wilson advisor, and I had a foolproof master plan I got for that brother, and I still got it for him because I know he'll do well in that field. But because of they didn't feel like they were going to get anything out of it, my name wasn't never mentioned. And so Willie Wilson going for mayor, this would have added, that probably could have composed him into the mayor seat. But unfortunately, us being us get in the way of progress. You know, Willie has some great ideas. Instead of him he's passing out the gas, that was good, that was groceries, all that. Okay. If you just took a chance and you looked at what's going on around in the city of Chicago, right? Who has even invested in the education of our children for real, for real? These outdated books, right? That they have our children studying in that can't teach them nothing. Like you said earlier, you feel like you failed because all the stuff you went and got, it amounts up to nothing. And this is what they telling us, it amounts up to nothing because that's why the kids feel like, I ain't going to school. Going to school for what? To tell them that Christopher Columbus discovered he was lost? Because we all know he was lost.
About that.
We all know that the black man navigated the globe 500 times before they even did it one time. We already know this. We know that we are the strongest human beings on the face of the earth because we are the chosen ones. But they also know that with this, it's always some divided and conquer because we, our own people, are our own worst enemies. Because we argue about the white man and the Europeans. And yes, I stand on their neck. I surely do. But I also stand on the necks of our black brothers and sisters as well, who also had the hand in the slave trade as well. So when you look at all these components and what's going on, the urban communities are the ones who are suffering more than anybody, and nobody's talking about the urban community. They're talking about, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this. Walk with me through one of these communities where you can see these kids playing and they thriving, they having fun, they ain't worried about gunshots. There's nowhere in the city of Chicago you can do that. Nowhere. And it's all because there's no unity in our communities. And nobody is looking at the mere fact that if you have to change one concept at a time. We try to fix the whole problem overnight, and that's not the concept. The concept is the children, if they are our future like we say they are, then we need to start acting like it.
Well, I know they need to get behind one leader, stick behind one leader, and work with that one leader instead of having 7 or 8 people running at one time.
But that's
and put that
again,
person in
Yeah,
office
but
and vote
in
for
order
them.
to do that, you're going to have to make sure you change the psyche of the black people right now in public service and in other areas as well. None of us can be more important than the other ones.
That's
All of us
right.
have to come to the table together and be equal and have, because when it boils down to the bottom line, we are all equally at danger when people come here and start blowing up buildings and robbing folks, and you know people can people can go to the gas station and have a significant impact on my family by just choosing the wrong person, to rob or do whatever. Those issues that we need to come together in commonality and say how we're going to deal with. And we need to, if I may add this as well. Have you ever seen these pictures with these
you froze, Professor.
Yeah, you froze.
big,
Go ahead.
Okay, let me
they
let
got
me while he's froze, let me make this statement. I want to say tomorrow is the last day of the election, and everybody is out to the polls to vote. And I just want to give you some food for thought if you haven't voted. These are some of the things that you should think about before you go in that polling booth to cast your vote. You should decide what you're looking for in the candidate. Decide what you're looking for. Make sure that that candidate has some of the things that you are concerned about. Take a good look at that candidate's campaign. Learn what his views are. Make sure the views are in line with the things that you're in line with. Rate the candidate.
We don't get Demetrius.
Beg your pardon?
No, go ahead. I'm listening. I'm talking to you.
Okay. Rate the candidate. Okay. If you know anything about him, rate him. Examine his campaign. Make sure that he's not putting out salacious gossip that is not true. Those are things that you should look for. Okay. Then, after you've done all these things, pick that candidate that aligns with your ideas and then cast your vote. Don't be influenced by someone else because we don't all, listen, we may all be human, but we don't all have the same ideas. So take your time and cast your ballot for somebody that is aligned with your ideas and your needs and your thoughts. Okay, what do you got to say about that, Raymond?
So I'm looking at it on live, and they said Jamal Green, he's
Mhm.
stopping the car boot, and that's great. And it's a lot of things that Lil J Mo is gonna do, and so many others will do. But the
Mhm.
fact of the matter is this:
Mhm.
it's designed for the person that they feel will do the best job for the city of Chicago. And unfortunately for us, we can only hope and pray that things will get better. And we do know they can get better, but who is making the real sacrifices to protect the urban communities, the black and brown communities? So I just say pick your vote, whoever you vote for. I hope that some change come because it don't matter anywhere. Whoever sits on that in that throne in that chair has a hell of a responsibility, and that responsibility is to fix the education system, the broken, corrupt uh, politics, the court systems, the homelessness, the unemployment. It's a lot that's going on right now that they're not even hitting on. So I'm just here. It's merely to be here. I'm on opinions. It's one of my favorite shows, and I just want to cast my opinion. I just hope that they put the right people in there, and I just know that my voice is Lori Lightfoot. That's what I see.
Okay, Professor, you got the last comment.
Other thing I can say is I'm not going to talk about who to endorse or whatever. Lori has been in office and she's done what she has done to the best of her ability, I believe. But I'll say this to the entire black community and brown community in Chicago. Segregation won't hold up here. It didn't hold up down south. It ain't gonna hold up nowhere in the United States. God is going to make the segregated communities have to come together because every knee is going to wind up bowing at some point and every tongue confessing, according to the word.
Mhm.
I also need to say this right here. If we are not forward together, we're either standing still or being shoved backward. That's all I need to say.
All right, you have been listening to opinions. Look like I'm froze too, but you've been listening to opinions right here on Meta Facebook Live, YouTube, and Spreaker. We thank you. We want to encourage and urge everyone to go out and vote. And we'll
Well,
see you next. I'll see you on Friday. I'll see you on Friday, right here with Brother Raymond on a conversation with Brother Raymond, and we'll see you next Monday right here on Opinions. And
Yeah,
till
Raymond, I got
then,
you locked the number locked in. I'm gonna call you now.
okay, still do.
until then, we're gonna say good night.
Good night. Yeah, Professor, I want to talk to you anyway. I got to talk to you about something anyway.
Yeah, I'll probably call you tonight if you're gonna be free.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give me some chow right now. After I give me some chow, then I'll be able to.
But I tell you what, when you get through eating, just call me.